After the Americans turned away, Sussex lost direction despite relentless PR efforts. Meghan pressed Harry's head to hell with aging and poverty nightmare. Earlier this month, Harry and Meghan were facing the biggest boycott in America after the number of people with negative opinions about them reached a peak. According to a YouGov poll, up to 88% of Americans simply don't like Meghan Markle. And Harry's really not doing much better. Up to 73% of respondents do not find the former British prince interesting. This lack of popularity is probably coming as quite a shock to Harry and Meghan, especially considering that recently their PR machine has been working overtime to bring their reputation up. But looking back last week, once again, Meghan Markle was an absolute disaster on International Women's Day by trying to play the victim once again. And naturally, it didn't even stop there. Harry and Meghan continued their PR stunts by bringing a film crew to come celebrate the birthday of a loved one lost in the Uvalde shooting. So honestly, folks, what exactly are Harry and Meghan even trying to achieve? What is their goal? I know it's success in the vaguest of terms, but what does that mean to them? Or maybe they just want to make a lot of money. But the truth is, to really make money, you need money. You need to invest and then reinvest, and also have good ideas about where to invest your money and how. I don't think Harry and Meghan are intelligent investors. So far, it looks like Meghan Markle certainly wears the pants in that relationship. She's obviously the leader, the one who calls all the shots. After she married into the royal family, it later came out that Meghan had some kind of plans to form some type of partnership with William and Catherine, and eventually the goal was going to be forming some kind of bizarre co-monarchy with the two families. And at first, they were simply sharing an office and employees until Meghan's reported bullying ways became so overbearing that some of the staff either had to quit or they had to seek counseling. So I guess that put an end to that little plan. But at the same time that was happening, Meghan Markle also had plans to seek office in the U.S. Apparently, her goal at one point was to become president. So Meghan went to the trouble to head to the U.S. to vote and encourage Americans to do the same because, well, this is our right as citizens of the U.S. I suspect Meghan Markle was sharing phones with Betty Friedan in accomplishing this little feat. When I first read about these plans, I remember being a bit surprised by the sheer enormity of all of it, as well as how strange these ambitions seemed to me. Essentially, I saw that Meghan Markle was already setting herself up for failure. I mean, who in their right mind is even going to chase after this kind of accomplishment unless they become some kind of dictator? And that in itself is a pretty difficult thing to achieve. I mean, how long do dictators typically last? Maybe for a little while. But dictators need a whole lot of skill, a whole lot of charisma that Meghan Markle doesn't have. A dictator would also need loyal followers, another thing Meghan doesn't really have. And really, it's the same with becoming any kind of world leader. I don't think it's possible for Meghan Markle at this point in time. There are way too many things to consider, but Meghan Markle was bound and determined to be a success. She has always been a legend in her own mind. So to me, what this all boils down to is she's out of her mind. She's completely insane. What else is there to say? And Meghan Markle thinks that she's some type of role model for young women. What I find even more surprising, though, is the idea behind that story, the emperor and the new clothes. Do people not see what's going on here? I mean, unless Meghan has advisors who have very definite plans to, for example, destroy the monarchy for financial gain, what exactly is her plan? Even advisors give up on somebody who's simply not fulfilling their function. But at least the journalists are having a good time with all this. So Meghan Markle married the dim-witted Prince Harry. Okay, big whoop. Now, he's a start for her to climb up the ladder of success, but is he enough for her to get as high as she wants to go? I don't think so. Meghan has been shot down more than a few times in her career attempts, most notably by Netflix and Spotify. But I gotta hand it to her. She does appear to be resilient. And now it seems like Meghan is expecting the royals to pay for their security again. Well, what a shame that Harry and Meghan created so much bad blood between themselves and the royals. Otherwise, maybe they could have been welcomed back into the fold, especially now with all the negativity that we're seeing. I think the royals probably would have welcomed their help. Now, though it's way too late, they can forget that dream. So, what direction are Harry and Meghan headed? Well, from my perspective, I think they're headed straight down. They're a couple of has-beens. I mean, really never was his. They are not distinguished members of society who age gracefully. They're a couple of losers. There are two things I believe Meghan fears more than anything else: aging and poverty. Plastic surgery and injectables can only do so much before they start to backfire, and money runs out if it's not replenished. It seems like they have real trouble hanging on to money, and aging, I don't care who you are, aging is a fact of life. It's sad to say, but the way things are, I think Megan is going to end up very lonely, and she's going to have to live in a world of her own. She's going to keep asking, "Don't you know who I am?" And everybody's going to say, "No, not really." And this time she's going to be asking honestly. It's not going to be a nasty question. At this time, her question is going to have merit because people really will not know who she is or who she was. As for Harry, I don't know where he's going to end up, but probably with Meghan. Where else could he go after he has alienated everyone who ever loved him? Unfortunately, Harry has become a security threat for his own family, so I'm afraid that he's going to end up with no place to turn, and he certainly won't have any career to fall back on. There certainly is no way back, though, for Harry and Meghan. I don't believe the Brits would ever allow it. After everything they did to the late Queen, no chance. Their obvious disrespect and mocking of Her late Majesty the Queen was disgusting. She was a beloved, deeply respected woman and monarch. Harry and Meghan have proven time and time again they cannot be trusted, everything has a price with those two, and anything can be bought. They just took things way too far with the attacks. They also made themselves look like a couple of idiots. They lost all credibility and all respect with their little antics. Now, if they are smart at all, they're going to stay far away from the royal family. They're not necessary. They're not wanted. If extra help is required, well, all right. Zara and Mike are right there. They're available to help. They're popular, they're very well known, and they're actually loved by people in the UK. Zara is certainly the daughter of her mother, and she knows a lot more about royal events than even Harry does. Harry is a drug addict and an alcoholic. He's unstable, he's unhinged, he doesn't have anything meaningful to offer. His whole life was just riding on his brother's coattails. He never did any of the real work. He would just show up to take all the credit. Harry is a loser, and now it's become clear he's also a liability. It looks like now Harry's too busy planning on an appeal with the UK High Court over losing the battle over taxpayer-funded police protection in the UK. But maybe he should be looking into the African Park's complaints about the rapes and the beatings. Community activists now are urging him to step down as a member of the board of directors. In my opinion, that is an incredibly serious situation. Obviously, Harry's little position in the African Park's charity was simply for show. It didn't mean that he could actually do anything. So it looks like Harry is not competent to do anything at all. He claims that he loves Africa, but I guess he doesn't love Africa enough to help those poor people. So what is left for him? I don't see anything. I mean, honestly, once Harry's duties to Meghan Markle have been performed, I guess he can head down to the basement and play some video games. Maybe he could even become a hero in his video game world. And there's not going to be any concern for the invisible children because, well, if they don't exist, no need to worry about them. William, in his role as Prince of Wales and later on in his role as king, is never going to let Harry return to any royal duties whatsoever. On top of all the cruelty Harry has shown towards his family on a global scale, can you imagine somebody who condones rape and torture through his African Parks charity representing the royal family? No. And the best idea for Meghan would be to never show her lying, narcissistic face in the UK ever again. She'd probably be arrested for theft of crown jewels. She deserves to be. I mean, the threat she has made against members of the royal family. And also, what about those two lies regarding the invisible children in order to trick the House of Windsor into keeping them listed in the line of succession? Although actually, maybe it would be a good idea for Meghan Markle to make a mistake and head back to the UK. I would love to see her tried in UK courts and then tossed into the Tower of London. And I understand it's just a dream. They don't put criminals there these days, but it would be a nice thing to see, wouldn't it? It is a sad situation. I mean, just to think of what could have been done by those two as senior royals. But they thought they could do better in the US, make more money for themselves, so they decided to just throw those jobs aside. It really is sad. And I know the picture I'm presenting here is pretty bleak. I hope I'm wrong, actually. I mean, I don't like to wish unhappiness on anybody, but in this situation, there seems to be a pretty strange sequence of events that leads to unhappiness for the key players, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And you, what do you think about this couple? Please tell me your opinion below in the comments. And don't be afraid to like and share this video because YouTube's system prioritizes videos that have many interactions.